What if the key to strength wasn't outside of you but forged in silence through daily reflection? Can ancient wisdom help you rise above modern chaos and emotional storms? 9. These Stoic meditations aren't just thoughts, they are weapons for the soul, forged for inner fortitude. Stoic meditations to build resilience and wisdom, a daily path to inner fortitude. This is not your typical motivational video. This is a wake-up call for those who are ready to break through their limits and step into the life they truly deserve. If you're searching for true wealth, lasting success, and deep inner happiness, AOD, then don't blink, don't miss a single second. Because near the end of this video lies timeless wisdom success secrets that few have ever heard. That final part might just be the turning point in your life, if you have the patience to absorb it fully. And if you're ready to make a change, hit subscribe so you don't miss this journey of growth. Comment, "I'm ready for success and happiness," to mark the beginning of your transformation. And watch until the very end, because the real value lies in what you haven't heard yet. We're not here to entertain. We're here to help you become the best version of yourself. Start right now. Your success won't wait. There is a quiet kind of strength that the world often overlooks, not the strength of force or dominance, but the strength of endurance, the strength of wisdom, the kind that doesn't need to shout, doesn't seek validation, and doesn't crumble when life becomes uncertain. This is the strength the Stoics pursued, not in theory, but in daily practice, because they understood something most of us forget. Resilience is not built in moments of ease. It is forged in discomfort, in adversity, in facing life's inevitable trials with an unwavering mind. In our modern world, distraction is constant, comfort is warped, and resilience is often mistaken for aggression. But the Stoic path offers another way, a daily path to inner fortitude. It is not about rejecting emotion or denying hardship. It is about cultivating the wisdom to move through them with grace, to endure with dignity, to remain rooted, while the winds of life shift around you. Each day presents opportunities to strengthen this inner core, not through grand gestures, but through small, deliberate choices: how we face discomfort, how we respond to setbacks, how we manage desire, how we treat others. Not when life is easy, but when it is difficult. The Stoic sees every challenge as a lesson, every hardship as an invitation to grow wiser, calmer, more free. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And it is this mastery of mind, not of others, not of fate, that becomes the source of true resilience. A resilience that does not shatter under pressure, but deepens, a wisdom that does not waver in uncertainty, but clarifies. This is the purpose of daily Stoic meditation, not to escape life, but to engage with it fully, to confront discomfort with courage, to meet fate with equanimity, to live not in reaction, but in conscious alignment with what is good, what is just, what is true. So as we walk through these meditations today, remember the goal is not perfection, it is practice. It is becoming a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more free with each passing day, because resilience is not something you possess. It is something you cultivate, and wisdom is not a destination, it is a way of being one. The art of endurance. Modern life often teaches us that strength must be loud, that to endure we must fight, argue, resist, visibly, yet the Stoic sees it differently. True endurance is not marked by outward struggle but by inward stability. It is the art of standing firm in the face of adversity without letting your inner world collapse. It is the decision to hold fast to your values even when circumstances seek to shake them. And it is this quiet endurance, not aggression, that marks true strength. Consider how most people react when life turns difficult. Complaints become louder, blame is cast outward, frustration furs. But the Stoic understands that hardship is an expected part of the human experience. It is not a personal punishment, it is simply life unfolding in ways we cannot control. And when you stop resisting this truth, you gain the space to respond with grace rather than reactivity. Endurance, then, is an internal discipline. It is not passive resignation, it is active acceptance, choosing to meet adversity with dignity rather than despair. As Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every challenge, every difficulty is an opportunity to cultivate this inner fortitude, not by wishing hardship away, but by learning to remain calm within it. This is not about suppressing your feelings, it is about learning to coexist with them without losing yourself. Anger may arise, fear may surface, exhaustion may pull at you, but the Stoic observes these states without becoming them. He allows them to pass through like clouds across the sky, knowing that his core remains unmoved. In practical terms, this means learning to pause in moments of struggle to breathe, to ask yourself, what is within my control? What can I do right now that aligns with my values, and to act from that place of clarity rather than impulse. It means choosing patience when the path is long, choosing calm when the world around you is chaotic, choosing persistence when results are slow to appear, and over time, the practice transforms you. What once seemed unbearable becomes manageable. What once provoked frustration now invites reflection. You begin to trust your capacity to withstand life's storms, not because you never feel them, but because you know they do not define you. The art of endurance is one of life's greatest teachers, because every day brings its own small trials, a difficult conversation, an unexpected setback, a moment of self-doubt, and each time you choose to meet these moments with calm resistance, with steady, grounded strength, you grow. You become a person who is not easily shaken, who does not crumble under pressure, who does not need to fight every battle because they have mastered the most important one, the battle within. And that is where true resilience is born, not in noise, but in stillness, not in outward victory, but in inward mastery. Tu memento mori, remember you must die. There is perhaps no meditation more central to the Stoic path than memento mori, the practice of remembering your mortality at first glance. This reflection may seem morbid or unsettling. Why dwell on death when life is so full of things to pursue and enjoy? But the Stoics understood a deeper truth. It is precisely the awareness of death that sharpens our appreciation for life. When you remember that your time is finite, you begin to live with greater purpose, greater urgency, and greater clarity in the rush of modern life. It's easy to fall into the illusion that we have unlimited time, that there will always be another day to say what matters, to pursue, what inspires us, to repair what is broken. But death is the great equalizer. It reminds us that tomorrow is promised to no one, and this is not meant to instill fear. It is meant to awaken us. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. When you hold this awareness close, not as a source of dread, but as a gentle companion, something remarkable happens. You stop wasting time on trivial concerns. You stop delaying your dreams. You begin to strip away the distractions and focus on what truly matters. Memento mori is not about living in anxiety. It is about living in alignment. Each morning, each conversation, each decision becomes an opportunity to ask, if this were my last day, is this how I would choose to spend it? Is this action worthy of the time I will never get back? And in asking these questions, you bring intention to your life. Moreover, this meditation frees you from the fear of death itself. When you accept that death is natural and inevitable, It loses its power to paralyze you. You no longer chase immortality through possessions or status. You no longer cling to life so tightly that you forget to live instead. You move through each day with a calm awareness grounded in the present, appreciating the fleeting beauty of existence. And this perspective transforms how you face adversity. Setbacks lose their sting when you remember how temporary they are. Insults become insignificant when you see them in the vast context of life's brevity. Fear dissolves when you understand that the worst fate, death, is already written into your nature, and therefore nothing to fear. Ultimately, memento mori is not a meditation on death, but on life. It is an invitation to live more fully, more bravely, more authentically, to love without holding back, to speak truthfully, to pursue your values with urgency, because time wasted is life wasted. And when you embrace this truth, every day becomes a gift, not a given. So remember, you must die not to darken your days, but to brighten them with purpose, to ensure that when your final hour comes, you can meet it with the peace of one who truly lived. 3. Discipline your desires. Much of human suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from what we chase. Desires, unchecked, become chains. They pull us into restlessness, into constant craving, into a life of endless dissatisfaction. The Stoic understands this deeply, that freedom is not the ability to indulge every impulse, but the power to govern them. Discipline of desire is not about denial for its own sake, it is about liberation. Because when you no longer need everything, you are free from everything. In today's world, we are bombarded with invitations to want more. More success, more possessions, more validation, more pleasure. The culture of consumerism thrives on keeping you hungry, always reaching, always unsatisfied. But the Stoic steps back and asks, do I really need this? Will this bring lasting fulfillment? Or is this a passing impulse that will leave me emptier than before? And in that pause lies wisdom. Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And what lies beyond our control, the approval of others, the constant acquisition of things, the fleeting highs of indulgence. The Stoic knows that to chase these is to hand your peace to forces that will never be stable, never be secure. Discipline of desire begins with clarity, understanding which desires serve your highest values and which enslave you. Some desires are natural, the desire for friendship, for meaningful work, for health, but even these must be held lightly, not clung to as conditions for happiness. Other desires, status, luxury, recognition are illusions. They promise fulfillment, but deliver dependency. The more you need them, less you are free. Practically, this discipline looks like conscious choice. It looks like saying no to excess, not because you can't have it, but because you choose not to be ruled by it. It looks like resisting the pull of comparison, knowing that someone else's life is not your measure of success. It looks like finding joy in simplicity, in what you already have, in what cannot be taken from you. This is not a life of deprivation, it is a life of depth, because when you no longer chase every desire, you begin to savor what is truly meaningful. You notice the beauty in the ordinary. You cultivate gratitude instead of greed. You experience the calm of a mind unburdened by constant wanting. And here lies a profound paradox. The less you need, the richer you become, not in wealth, but in contentment, not in possession, but in presence. You move through the world with a steady heart, unaffected by the rise and fall of fortune, by the glitter of what others pursue. So the next time desire arises, pause, ask, is this leading me toward virtue or away from it? Will this strengthen my character or weaken it? And in choosing discipline, you choose freedom. Because the Stoic path is not about having less, it is about needing less. And in that space of sufficiency, true peace is found. 4. Master your emotions. Without denying them, emotions are an inescapable part of being human. To pretend otherwise is folly. The Stoic does not seek to erase emotion, nor to become some cold, unfailing machine. On the contrary, the wise person feels deeply but responds deliberately. He understands that emotions are signals, not commands. They rise within us, shaped by our perceptions and judgments, but we are not bound to obey them blindly. Mastery lies not in denial, but in discernment. Too often modern life sends the message that to be strong is to suppress emotion, to bury grief, to mask fear, to hide sadness. But this only deepens the wound. What the Stoic practices instead is full awareness, allowing emotion to arise, observing it without shame, and choosing how to act. In this space between feeling and response lies true freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The same principle applies to emotion. You may not control what first stirs in your heart, a sudden pang of anger, a wave of anxiety, a pull of desire, but you control what you do next. You control whether you feed the flame or let it cool, whether you act from impulse or from principle. To master emotion, the Stoic cultivates reflection. When anger arises, he asks, "Is this worth my peace? Is this anger serving justice? Or is it rooted in wounded pride?" When fear appears, he considers, "Is this danger real or imagined? Is this fear a call to caution or an obstacle to courage?" When sorrow surfaces, he allows it. Grief is part of love, but he does not let it consume him endlessly. This practice is not easy. It requires vigilance. The mind will tempt you to follow old patterns, to lash out, to wallow, to numb. But each moment of awareness is a small victory. Each time you choose to pause, to breathe, to act from wisdom rather than reactivity, you strengthen the muscle of emotional mastery, and the rewards are profound. A person who governs their emotions becomes a calm force in a chaotic world. They do not escalate conflict needlessly. They do not collapse under hardship. They become a source of steady presence for those around them, and most importantly, they preserve their own peace, not by shutting down feeling, but by flowing through it with clarity. This approach also deepens empathy. When you understand your own emotions, you become more compassionate toward the struggles of others. You see that everyone is fighting unseen battles, but your compassion does not mean you are swayed by manipulation or false guilt. You remain grounded, open-hearted, but discerning. So the Stoic walks this path daily, not in pursuit of emotional numbness, but of emotional wisdom. He does not fear feeling. He fears being ruled by unexamined feeling, and in mastering this balance he becomes both strong, human, both steady and compassionate, because true mastery of emotion is not suppression, it is sovereignty, and the one who achieves this sovereignty moves through life with unmatched resilience. 5. Grow through chaos. Chaos is an inevitable part of life. No matter how disciplined you are, how carefully you plan, or how virtuous you strive to www. To be, the world will bring disorder, loss, change, conflict, uncertainty. These are not exceptions to the path, they are the path. The Stoic knows this, and instead of resisting chaos, he embraces it as the very forge of inner strength. It is easy to believe that peace comes from controlling circumstances, that if you can just eliminate the noise, avoid the trouble, secure the perfect environment, then you will be calm. But this is an illusion, because life is inherently unpredictable. The person who depends on order for their peace is fragile. The Stoic seeks another kind of peace, one that thrives amid disorder, not because the world is calm, but because the mind is Seneca. reminds us difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. It is through challenge that resilience is built a life. Without chaos would be a life without growth, without friction. There is no polish without adversity. There is no depth. The Stoic sees chaos not as something to fear, but as raw material for transformation. Consider how many breakthroughs in point 424. Life come not from comfort, but from struggle. How many? Virtues, patience, courage, adaptability, humility are born in hardship. Comfort tends to lull us into complacency, but chaos awakens us. It forces us to confront our limits, to shed delusions, to refine what truly matters. To grow through chaos is not to seek it recklessly, but to meet it willingly when life unravels, when plans fall apart, when relationships shift, when loss strikes. The Stoic does not collapse. He does not cling desperately to what was. He breathes, observes, and asks, "What is this moment here to teach me? How can I emerge from this wiser, stronger, more free?" In this way, chaos becomes not an enemy but a teacher. And there is great freedom in this perspective, because when you stop fearing chaos, you stop fearing life, you open yourself to the full experience of being human, joy and sorrow, success and failure, clarity and confusion. You no longer need perfect conditions to move forward. You carry your center within you, unshaken by the storms outside. This is the essence of true resilience. Not merely surviving chaos, but transforming through it, using disorder as the forge of character, choosing to grow, not despite adversity, but because of it. The Stoic does not wish for an easier life. He wishes for the strength to meet life as it is, and with each challenge faced, that strength deepens. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. What once triggered fear now evokes curiosity. The person who grows through chaos becomes an anchor in turbulent times, not just for themselves but for others. So when the next wave of chaos comes, and it will remember this, it is not here to break you, it is here to shape you, to invite you into a greater version of yourself. The choice is yours: resist and suffer, or engage and grow. The Stoic chooses to grow. 6. Virtue is the way, not the reward. In a world obsessed with outcomes, trophies, titles, recognition, it is easy to fall into the trap of seeing virtue as a means to an end. We think, if I act rightly, I will be praised. If I am just, I will be rewarded. If I live with integrity, life will go my way. But this expectation breeds disappointment, because the world does not always reward virtue. The Stoic understands this, and so he chooses virtue not for what it brings, but because of what it is, because it is the right way to live regardless of the outcome. Virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance is not a strategy for success. It is a compass. It points you toward right action, toward inner alignment, regardless of how others respond. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." And in this simple clarity lies great freedom, because when you detach your actions from the need for external validation, you reclaim your peace. You act rightly because it aligns with your nature, not because it earns applause. Perspective transforms how you navigate life. You no longer perform goodness to be seen as good. You embody it, because it is who you choose to be. You speak truth even when it costs you. You act with fairness, even when others do not. You maintain discipline, even when no one is watching, and this consistency builds something unshakable within you. Self-respect that cannot be bought and cannot be taken. Moreover, living by virtue protects you from the instability of chasing rewards. External outcomes are fickle. You may be kind and still be misunderstood. You may be generous and still be betrayed. You may be courageous and still face loss. If your peace depends on everything going well, you will be fragile. But if your peace rests on acting in accordance with your values, you become resilient, because no one can prevent you from choosing virtue, that power is always yours. This path also deepens your relationships. When you act without hidden motives, without angling for approval or advantage, your integrity becomes evident. Others may not always like you, but they will trust you, and more importantly, will trust yourself. You will know that your actions reflect your character, not the whims of circumstance. Of course, this is not the easiest way to live. There will be moments when compromise looks tempting, when shortcuts promise quicker gains, but the Stoic pauses and asks, who am I becoming through this choice? Am I aligning with my highest self, or betraying it for a fleeting reward? And in choosing virtue again and again, he builds a life of depth and meaning. In the end, virtue is not the path to some distant prize. It is the prize. A life of integrity is its own reward. A mind at peace with itself is the greatest success. And the person who walks this path may not always be celebrated by the world, but he will be whole, and that wholeness, quiet, steady, unshakable, is worth more than any trophy. So walk the path of virtue, not for applause, not for gain, but because it is the way of wisdom and the way of freedom. 7. The power of acceptance. Much of human suffering does not come from what happens to us. It comes from our resistance to what happens. We waste immense energy wishing things were different, fighting reality, as if our struggle could somehow bend it to our will. But the Stoic learns early on, resistance to reality breeds suffering, while acceptance brings clarity. This is not passive resignation, but an active choice. To engage with life, as it is not as we wish it to be, acceptance does not mean you approve of everything that happens. It means you stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed. You direct your focus toward what you can influence. Your thoughts, your actions, your character. As Epictetus said, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not, and it is this wisdom, knowing the difference, that frees you. When you resist what is unchangeable, you create inner turmoil, you replay the past, imagining how it could have gone differently. You fear the future, trying to control outcomes beyond your reach. You argue with fate, with circumstance, with other people's choices. But all of this is a war you cannot win, and the cost of fighting it is your peace. Acceptance is the act of laying down those arms. It is saying, this is what is now, what will I do with it? In this shift, you reclaim immense power. You stop being a victim of events and become an active participant in your own life. You align your energy with action, not reaction. For example, when faced with loss, the Stoic grieves. He does not deny his humanity, but he does not rage against the impermanence of life. He honors what was, accepts what is, and chooses how to live forward when faced with injustice. He works to correct what is within his power, but does not poison his soul with bitterness over what lies beyond it. When faced with personal limitations or failures, he learns, adapts, and accepts the imperfect nature of growth. This practice also cultivates deep resilience, because once you stop resisting reality, become adaptable, you flow with life's changes instead of breaking against them. You meet adversity not with helplessness but with curiosity. How can I respond wisely here? What can this teach me in this way? Even difficulty becomes a teacher, not an enemy. Acceptance also sharpens clarity. When you are not clouded by frustration over what you cannot change, you see more clearly what you can do. You make decisions from a calm, centered place, not from panic or denial, and this clarity allows you to move through life with greater purpose, greater effectiveness, and greater peace. Ultimately, the power of acceptance lies in freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of what if. Freedom from the exhausting pursuit of controlling the uncontrollable. Freedom to meet each moment fully, with presence and wisdom. The Stoic does not seek a life without difficulty. He seeks a mind that is free, no matter the difficulty. So when life next presents you with something hard, something unexpected, something outside your control, pause, breathe, and remember, peace begins the moment you stop fighting what is and start living from what can be. 8. Reframe your thoughts. Reclaim your life. Your mind is the lens through which you experience the world. It is not events themselves that shape your life, but the meanings you attach to them. Two people can face the same circumstance. One grows stronger, the other collapses. The difference lies in thought. The Stoic understands this profoundly. By mastering your perspective, you master your experience. Reframe your thoughts, and you reclaim your life. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment. Now this is the heart of Stoic cognitive mastery. Between stimulus and response lies a choice, the choice of interpretation, and in that space lies your freedom. Too often we become prisoners of unexamined narratives. We tell ourselves, I failed, so I am a failure. They rejected me, so I am unworthy. Life is hard, so I am powerless. These are not facts. They are stories we tell ourselves, and they shape our emotions, our actions, and ultimately our lives. But the Stoic questions these stories. He asks, is this thought serving me? Is this judgment aligned with reality? Or is it an old pattern keeping me small? Reframing is not denial. It is not about pretending bad things are good. It is about seeing, clearly recognizing the full context of a situation, and choosing an empowering interpretation. For example, loss becomes a chance to practice. Detachment. Failure becomes an opportunity for growth. Delay becomes a training ground for patience. In this way, even adversity becomes fuel for development. This shift begins with awareness. You must catch the automatic thoughts that color your experience when frustration arises. Pause. What story am I telling myself here? Is it true? Is there another way? To see this when fear surfaces, ask, what am I believing about this future? Is that belief serving me? Through this practice, you train your mind to become an ally, not an adversary. Over time, this reframing becomes second nature. You move through life less reactive, more reflective. Challenges no longer trigger despair. They invite curiosity. Criticism no longer wounds. It offers a mirror for growth. Even success is reframed, not as proof of worth, but as an opportunity for humility and service. And the beauty of this practice is that it applies to every domain of life in relationships. It fosters empathy in work. It cultivates resilience in solitude. It deepens peace. Because when you reclaim your thoughts, you reclaim your inner world. And from that foundation, you can face anything life brings. So remember, you cannot always choose what happens, but you can always choose how you frame it. And in that choice lies immense power. The power to transform suffering into wisdom, setbacks into stepping stones, life itself into a path of mastery. Reframe your thoughts. Reclaim your life. 9. Find clarity in silence. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become a rare and radical practice. We fill our days with sound conversations, notifications, media, often to avoid the deeper truths that arise when things grow quiet. But the Stoic seeks the opposite. He turns towards silence, not to escape life, but to engage with it more clearly. In silence, the mind settles in stillness, truth emerges, and from that clarity-wise action flows. Marcus Aurelius often wrote to himself in moments of reflection, reminding himself of the value of withdrawing inward. Wrote, "Know where you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." This is not the silence of isolation, but of intention, the deliberate stepping back from external noise to hear the quieter voice within. Why is this so vital? Because without silence it is easy to lose yourself in the chaos of the world. Other people's opinions, the urgency of tasks, the swirl of emotions, these can drown out your own inner wisdom. You become reactive, shaped more by circumstance than by conscious choice. But when you cultivate silence, you create space. Space to observe, to question, to remember who you are and what truly matters. Silence is not passive. It is an active discipline. It takes courage to sit without distraction, to face the unfiltered contents of your mind. But in doing so, you build inner strength. You learn to differentiate between passing thoughts and core values, between genuine insight and conditioned belief. This clarity allows you to move through life with greater intention, less swayed by external forces. Practically, this means creating moments of silence in your daily life, not just physical quiet, but mental quiet, a walk without your phone, a morning journal session, a few deep breaths before responding to conflict. These small practices accumulate, training your mind to find refuge in stillness rather than in constant stimulation. And the more you practice, the more you begin to crave this silence, not as an escape, but as a foundation. It becomes the ground from which you meet the world. When challenges arise, you return to that inner stillness to respond wisely. When emotions surge, you find clarity in the pause before action. When life feels overwhelming, you remember that peace is not found in controlling everything, it is found in the calm center you carry within. Moreover, silence fosters humility. It reminds you of the limits of your knowledge, the vastness of what remains unseen. In this humility, you become more open, more teachable, more aligned with reality. You listen more deeply, speak more meaningfully, act more intentionally. Ultimately, finding clarity in silence is not about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with it from a place of depth. It is about becoming the kind of person who moves through the noise of the world with an unshakable inner calm. And in a world that constantly pulls us outward, this is a rare and powerful strength. So seek silence not to escape, but to sharpen, not to hide, but to see. For in silence the Stoic finds his truest voice. 10. Be grateful for the difficult. It is a natural impulse to wish for ease. We all crave comfort, stability, days free from struggle. But the Stoic sees this craving for what it is, a subtle trap, because a life without difficulty is not a life without pain. It is a life without growth. Hardship reveals what ease conceals. It tests our values, strengthens our resilience, and shapes us into something greater than comfort alone ever could. And so the wise person learns to be grateful not just for the pleasant, but for the difficult. Seneca wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue, patience in frustration, courage in fear, compassion in conflict, discipline in temptation. These qualities are not forged in comfort. They are born in adversity. The Stoic does not seek suffering, but when it comes, as it inevitably will, he welcomes it as a chance to deepen his character. This mindset transforms how you experience hardship. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Instead of resenting obstacles, you embrace them as part of your training. Life ceases to be a series of unfortunate events and becomes a continuous invitation to grow wiser, stronger, freer. Gratitude for difficulty also protects you from bitterness. When you see adversity as a teacher rather than an enemy, you stop fighting reality and start learning from it. You understand that ease often breeds complacency, while challenge sharpens clarity. What once seemed an unfair burden begins to reveal unexpected gifts, new skills deeper. Empathy, greater inner peace. For example, loss teaches impermanence, helping you cherish what remains failure, cultivates humility and resilience. Conflict sharpens, communication and boundaries. Illness awakens, appreciation for health. Even betrayal, painful as it is, can clarify values and reveal false attachments in this way. Every difficulty, if met with the right mindset, becomes fuel for transformation. This does not mean the Stoic denies pain, he feels it fully, but he does not become trapped in it. He honors the hardship while keeping his gaze on growth, and this balance allows him to move through life with both openness and strength. In practical terms, this gratitude is cultivated through reflection. At the end of a hard day, ask, what did this experience reveal about me? What virtue did it invite me to? Practice, how am I stronger now than I was before? Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with difficulty. You begin to trust that adversity, while uncomfortable, is shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. And this trust breeds resilience when future hardships arise as they will you face them, not with dread, but with readiness. You remember that life's greatest teachers often wear the roughest disguises, and you meet them with gratitude, because in the end it is not the easy life that builds greatness. It is the life that faces difficulty with an open heart and an unbreakable spirit. So be grateful for the difficult it is shaping you into someone. Even you have not yet fully met 11 Act today, as if you were already wise. One of the most subtle traps on the path of self-mastery is the idea that wisdom is something far off, a distant state we will one day achieve once we have read enough, practiced enough, lived enough. And so we wait, we hesitate, we excuse our small failures and compromises by telling ourselves, one day when I am wiser, I will live indifferently. But the Stoic rejects this delay. He knows that wisdom is not a future destination, it is a present practice, and the only way to become wise is to begin living as if you already are. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. This is the Stoic call to immediacy. You need not wait for permission, for certainty, for the perfect moment to align your life with virtue. You can act now, today, in this moment, as if wisdom already guides you, and in doing so you begin to embody it. This mindset shifts everything. Instead of passively consuming philosophy or endlessly preparing to improve you, test wisdom in action. You ask, how would a wise person speak in this conversation? How would they handle this frustration? How would they choose in this moment of temptation? And then you do it not perfectly, not always with ease, but with intention. And in this way, wisdom ceases to be an abstract ideal and becomes a living practice. You close the gap between knowing and doing, because in truth, most of us already know much of what wisdom would counsel: patience over anger, courage over fear, honesty over convenience, presence over distraction. The work is in embodying it, in choosing the wise path when habit or ego pulls us elsewhere. This approach also liberates you from the perfectionism that often stalls growth. You don't need to feel ready to act with wisdom. You don't need to have mastered every emotion or solved every inner conflict. You simply choose to practice today, and in practicing, you become each wise action, no matter how small, strengthens the neural pathways of virtue. Each choice in alignment with your highest values builds the character you aspire to. Moreover, this practice creates momentum. The more you act as a wise person would, the more natural it becomes. Your responses shift, your self-respect deepens. You move through life with greater congruence between who you are and who you wish to be. And this congruence breeds both peace and power. It also cultivates humility. Acting as if you are already wise is not about pretending to be perfect. It is about aspiring to your best self while remaining open to learning. It is about saying, I may not be fully wise yet, but I will not use that as an excuse to act unwisely today. In this way, the practice itself becomes a path of ongoing growth. So do not wait. Do not postpone your higher nature until you feel worthy of it. Begin now. Speak as wisdom would speak. Act as wisdom would act. And in these small daily choices, you will find that wisdom is not something you chase, it is something you embody. And through this embodiment, you transform not in some distant future, but here and now. 12. The courage to be yourself. Perhaps one of the greatest acts of courage in any lifetime is to live in full alignment with your true nature. The pull to conform, to imitate, to please others is subtle but powerful. From a young age, we are taught to fit in, to adjust ourselves to the expectations of family, friends, society, and over time, without realizing it, many drift further from who they truly are. But the Stoic knows this truth: to live according to your nature is the highest form of freedom, and it takes great courage to do so. Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." The wise person understands that true fulfillment comes not from meeting external standards, but from inner congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions are in harmony with your deepest values and nature, to live this way is to walk a path that may often diverge from the crowd, to make choices that others may not understand, to stand alone when necessary. Why does this require courage? Because being yourself means accepting that not everyone will approve. It means risking misunderstanding, criticism, even rejection. It means letting go of the false security that comes from blending. But the alternative, living a life of pretense, masking your true self to gain acceptance, is a much deeper suffering, for no amount of external validation can compensate for the inner unrest that comes from self-betrayal. The Stoic embraces the discomfort of authenticity because he knows that it is the only path to true peace. He does not seek to shock or provoke, nor does he indulge in self-indulgent rebellion. His aim is not to be different for difference sake, but to be real, to speak truthfully, to act from principle, to honor his unique gifts, even when they do not fit the mold of what is popular or expected. This courage also requires deep self-knowledge. To be yourself, you must know yourself, your values, your strengths, your limits. This is why the Stoic practices constant reflection. Am I living in accordance with my nature? Are my choices aligned with who I truly am, or with who others want me to be? These questions guide him back to authenticity, and authenticity breeds resilience. When your sense of worth is rooted in external approval, you are fragile, forever at the mercy of other people's opinions. But when your worth is anchored in living true to yourself, you become unshakable. Criticism may sting, but it does not define you. Praise may please, but it does not control you. You walk your path with quiet confidence, knowing that your integrity is intact. Moreover, by being yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a light in a world of masks. It inspires deeper connections, richer relationships, more meaningful contributions, because nothing resonates more deeply than the truth of a person fully alive to who they are. So embrace the courage to be yourself, not someday, now, in your words, in your choices, in how you move through the world. Let go of the need to be everything to everyone. Be fully unapologetically who you are meant to be, for as the Stoics remind us, imitation may bring safety, but only authenticity brings freedom. Wisdom is not found in comfort, but in confrontation with self, with fate, with truth. This is the essence of the Stoic path. It is not a journey of ease, nor a philosophy of escape. It is a daily practice of facing life as it truly is. Uncertain, impermanent, often challenging, and in this confrontation, not in avoidance, You forge wisdom. You meet yourself in the silence of reflection. You meet fate in the unfolding of events beyond your control. You meet truth in the honest examination of your own mind and actions, and through this continual meeting you grow. Comfort alone will not shape you. It may soothe, but it does not strengthen. It may please, but it does not free. The Stoic understands this and therefore does not seek a life devoid of difficulty, but a life rich with meaning. A life where each obstacle is embraced as part of the training of the soul, and so the invitation is simple. Confront life with all its imperfections, with an open heart and a disciplined mind. Do not flee from hardship. Do not hide from your own weaknesses. Face them, learn from them, grow through them, for it is in this daily courage that wisdom is born. And as you continue on this path, remember you do not need to be perfect. You need only to practice, to take each day as a new opportunity to build resilience, to cultivate virtue, to align more deeply with your true self. In doing so, you will not only build inner fortitude, you will live in a way that is deeply free, deeply present, deeply wise. Thank you for staying until the end. It shows that you are more than just watching, you are ready to change. If today's message resonates with you, let it be the first step, because the journey of personal growth doesn't end here. Keep listening for the next videos. Each video is a building block for your inner strength, success, and peace. Don't stop. Don't back down. Thank you for choosing to invest in your mind to keep going deeper, higher, and stronger. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and see you in the next video. You deserve the best version of yourself.